So I'm not a Norwegian. I'm not a member of the Sons of Norway. So why am I here talking to you guys? What standing do I have to talk to you, and why should you even bother? Well, I'm not a member of the Sons of Norway, but Sons of Norway is a member of the organization that I head up, the American Fraternal Alliance. As was noted, the American Fraternal Alliance is a trade association composed of 70 fraternal benefit societies. From the very largest, I'm sure you've heard of them, Thrivent Financial for Lutheran, to the very, very smallest. There's some Polish and Portuguese societies with just a handful of members that are still around today, and everybody in between. So, because the system is so small, what one society does with its governance, with its marketing, with its regulatory issues, affects the whole system. It's kind of a domino effect. Not unlike savings and loans. Remember what savings and loans were? There was a domino effect there. A few bad apples spoiled for the whole bunch. They got regulated right out of existence. So, the fraternals gathered together to form this trade association. And why do fraternals need a trade association? We're a bunch of nice people. We do nice things. Who could possibly want to hurt us? Well, we're tax exempt. We're tax exempt, and we sell a commercial product, financial services, life insurance, annuities, things like that. So there's not many of that breed left. And in a time when the nation is more than financially struggling, there are always members of Congress seeking new ways to generate revenue. So we have to keep a watch out there and make sure members of Congress know who we are and what we do, and that the value we deliver in terms of membership benefits, community services, and financial security, and don't overlook that financial security part, far outweighs the new tax revenue they could generate by imposing an income tax on us. The other thing we do on the advocacy level is that we're insurance companies, and we operate like insurance companies, and we're regulated like insurance companies, and that happens at the state level. So we want to make sure that regulation of fraternals is fair, doesn't put us at a competitive disadvantage, and allows us to continue our unique mission. A little bit of a history lesson. Fraternals, like Sons of Norway, most of them started in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And financial services, financial security, was at the core of their mission. Thrivent was started, it was Lutheran Brotherhood or AAL back then, whatever it was. Thrivent was started because some guy fell off a tractor and got killed. A bunch of farmers got together and said, we need to take care of his widows and orphans. His widow and orphans. Not widows. That would be the Mormon fraternity. But I digress. So financial security is at the core of our DNA. A lot of times, the folks, the ethnic groups, the religious groups that started these fraternals either couldn't afford insurance anywhere else, or because of prejudice or discrimination, couldn't buy it even if they wanted to. So that really formed the core of our DNA. Now, we did other things, of course. We were a social unit for new immigrants. Came to this country with nothing, who didn't speak the language in a lot of cases, who needed some sort of connection. There were no social safety nets then. So what changed over the course of the years? Let's look at where the high water mark of fraternalism was. Now, that happened to be 1911. 1911, there were about 300 fraternal benefit societies. Half of the life insurance, 50% of the life insurance written in the United States was written by a fraternal. Today, 101 years later, there are 70 fraternal benefit societies, and combined, they write less than 2% of the insurance written in the United States. That is not an enviable track record. We are slowly becoming a statistical anomaly. We're fading into irrelevance. And my job in large part, as the head of the American Fraternal Alliance, is to help our members turn that around. I don't think we can ever get back to 50%, but I think we could get to 4%. It is a great time to be a fraternal benefit society today. We've done a host of consumer research over the past few months that shows that our business model, a non-profit financial services company, I should say a not-for-profit financial services company. I want to imply that we're a charity. While we're not-for-profit, that doesn't mean we're trying to generate no profit. Our primary goal is no profit. But a not-for-profit financial services company that gives back to members and the community rather than Wall Street is exceedingly appealing to a broad spectrum of consumers who are right in our sweet spot. Middle-income Americans who are overlooked by the Mets and the Prus and the Northwestern Mutual Lifes of the world. Folks just like you and all your neighbors. Folks just like you and all your neighbors. It's a great time to be a fraternal. But we have some obstacles to becoming great. And those obstacles I refer to, and I'm a Catholic and I can get away with this, I refer to those obstacles as the Holy Trinity. Those obstacles are solvency, relevance, and governance. On the solvency level of the 70 fraternal benefit societies that are members of the Alliance, on average, for the past 3 years, 28 have been operating unprofitably, losing money, losing surplus. That is not a good trend. We can't do the wonderful things we do unless our core business makes a profit. And we have a whole bunch of members not making a profit. On relevance, you have to ask yourself tough questions on relevance. I think there's 4 million people who self-report their Norwegian descent in the United States. How come so few of them are members of the Sons of Norway? Of your members, be honest now, of all those members, how many really participate in activities? The high water mark for most fraternals is about 5%. To me, that's a sign that maybe what we're doing is not relevant to the next generation. Might be perfectly relevant to you, but you're not creating an organization for you. You're creating an organization for 50 years down the line. That's what we're all about. And governance. You can't be a 21st century financial institution with a 19th or 18th century governance structure. It just doesn't work. Moreover, you can't fix the solvency and relevance parts until you fix the governance parts. And that's what my primary message is here today. We're here to talk about governance. I know that's everybody's favorite subject. But it's an important subject, and it's one that you have an enormous responsibility for. On the plane ride up last night, I was reading an article. They interviewed Jim Collins. He wrote several bestsellers. Good to Great, Built to Last, Great by Choice is his most recent. He studies successful businesses. He is, for lack of a better term, a guru. One of the most widely read business authors and consultant to all kinds of very good companies. And so they asked him point blank, you have good to great, built to last. What's a great company? You ever defined what a great company is? He said, yeah, a great company has 3 things. It's profitable. Again, I know Sons of Norway is a not-for-profit. Not-for-profit doesn't mean no profit. No money, no mission. Bottom line. Great companies are profitable. That means they have to grow, too. Great companies are long-lasting. Well, you got that. Been around 117 years. Like most fraternals that are still alive today, you got that licked. How do you last another 117 years? That's the tough part. And he said the third factor is kind of intangible. would you miss them if they were gone? Does their product, their service, their culture, does it mean enough to you so that if that company went away, would you miss them if they were gone? That's a tough trick. There's not many great ones. So our struggle as organizations, with you in this room, is to be great. How are we going to be great? Good governance is an important step in that process. Governance is very simply defined. It's a process of decision-making in an organization. Ineffective governance is the leading cause of challenges in the fraternal system. When I look at those 29 unprofitable members, and I look at their governance structure, there is a link, direct link between the two. If the governance is ruled by a convention that meets every 4 years and nothing can happen between the convention and the president is beholden to the convention to get elected, then you have a not very well-run organization. Not adaptable. Not flexible. Exactly the opposite. I was at a meeting the other day and there was a former regulator from Minnesota who was in charge of rehabilitation and liquidation of insurance companies, including fraternals. They ran into financial trouble. And she said, I've never had to rehabilitate or liquidate a company because of financial reasons. Now that struck me as a little funny. Why would you really, why else would you rehabilitate a company? She said, I've only had to rehabilitate companies who made bad decisions, resulting in their financial peril. And they made bad decisions because their governance structure didn't allow them to make good decisions. And that's what we're talking about here. I know that many of you, some of you, may not view Sons of Norway as a financial institution. But it is. I guarantee you, state insurance regulators view you as a financial institution. Now, a different kind of financial institution, a wonderful kind of financial institution, one that should be fostered and generated and expanded. But you're still a financial institution. And you have to have a governance structure that allows you to run a successful financial organization. Because without that, there's not going to be money to fund lodges and cultural events and community service activities and all those wonderful things you do. That is the dilemma you're faced. You have to improve your governance structure, and believe me, you guys have come a long way over the past few years. I've been at society conventions that look more like the 1968 Democratic National Convention. I've seen this year, actually just like last year, a 2-hour almost fist fight it ended up in over placement of the microphones in the audience. I kid you not, I couldn't make that up. The people on the end felt they were discriminated against because the microphones were in the middle aisles. They had to walk a long way if they wanted to say something. 2 hours it took to resolve that issue. Really? They then proceeded to have an election about who's going to be the president of the organization. And then they debated what that president was going to get paid. And the prevailing wisdom was, let's figure out what all of us make and pay him $1 less. That's not a model for a great financial services organization. That's not a model you want to emulate. You've made a lot of progress. You have a CEO who's hired by the board. You have a CEO who hires his or her staff. You have a board that is elected by the members and reports to the members. that structure is absolutely moving in the right direction. Regulators are increasingly aware of organizations with weak governance structure. And not just fraternals. Sarbanes-Oxley, you ever heard of that? That was a result of a weak governance structure in Enron. Dodd-Frank. That was a result of weak governance structures in the financial services sector. You're probably going to see more of that rather than less of that. Regulators are not going to tolerate companies that behave irresponsibly because they have a bad decision-making process in place.